you don't want to lose this opportunity either. That
Hmm.
this astrology doesn't come around often.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to our first AstroBabble episode of 2026. My name is Misty of Mercurial Girl Studios, and this is Dani with Planets in Praxis. I think it goes without saying that 2025 was a doozy for many of us. As we navigated back and forth with a lot of the outer planet shifts and shed our skins as we navigated the year of the snake, it was pretty intense for a lot of people. And I know on my end, I sure have been feeling it, especially as my Saturn return comes to an end in a little over a month. But Dani, how are your transits in 2025, and what are you looking forward to the most in the year ahead?
Okay, well, as an Aquarius rising, yeah, 2025 hit me hard for sure. Pluto is there. Pluto is
Pluto's
there.
there.
Pluto is there. Uh, I feel like 2025 brought like crazy changes for me that I did not expect, even though like I was watching my transits closely. But what I am looking forward to for sure is things moving out of all of my my important houses. So I am ready for Uranus to move for sure. I'm ready for Uranus to move, and I am ready for Saturn and Neptune to leave my second house. That is what I'm looking forward to, and I'm really intrigued with the nodal shift as well. What about you?
Yes. Also really intrigued with the nodal shift. Like we were saying earlier, I'm hoping it brings in more money for myself personally. I am a little bit nervous about Uranus and Gemini just from its previous stint in Gemini. It looked like a little bit more work chaos, but also work-related innovations came through for me. But it's interesting considering my main job is in social media marketing and how Uranus could be shaking that up. I'm a little bit nervous about technological innovations related to communications and media. So
You
we'll
just got to
see.
be the first adopter.
Yeah, just got to be the first adopter, which is an area of resistance for me. I was scrolling Instagram and saw Chris Brennan post on the Astrology podcast account where he posted a reel, and his post was about like how he noticed rewatching that reel that Meta was automatically applying AI to the reel and translating it into different languages, but not
Oh,
just translating it, like it manipulated their mouth movements to so that it appeared that they were actually speaking that language that Meta AI had translated it into. So that was really interesting. I don't know how I feel about that.
what is life?
I know, right? But at least like with all of these outer planet shifts in 2026, a lot of them are going to be staying in their signs for the long haul. So Neptune entering Aries for the long haul later this month, and then Uranus entering Gemini for the long haul in April. I think it'll be I think it'll be easier to get into it, especially since we had our little prologue last year.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we'll
I
see.
think I think of these like back and forth transits of like when you're moving from an apartment to another one and like or just from a house to another one and like you can't really understand what your new life is going to be in this new place that you're living in until you've completely moved out of the other place, right? And so for the
Mm,
past few months, we've been really just going and cleaning up, like getting those last things out of that house that we used to live in. And so we've been like living in two places. Like, I don't know how often you've moved, but when you're living out of boxes, there is no stability. Like, I don't know how stable
there's not.
Uranus and Gemini is going to be, but at least we know it's not stable, right? Like, we will
Yeah.
know, you know what I mean? Like, we'll know this is the story that we're living right now. Let's go live this story. And right now we're like, wait, where are we going? What are we doing? Wait, is this still life? Wait, oh, is this life over here? And I think it's just been a really difficult, it's a really difficult line to walk. when
Hmm.
so many planets are, or like these big planets are doing this. Like, what is life? At least Pluto has figured it out.
At least Pluto's figuring it out. Yeah, we have some big cultural shifts on the horizon over the next few years. So I
Yeah,
think
we are
it's
not.
much needed. I think it'll be
Yeah,
rough to adjust, but I think it'll be what's needed,
I
for
mean, it always
sure.
is. It always is.
Hmm.
As I'm a little older than you, so and I've been doing astrology a long time, and I've always been a pattern recognizer. And like when we're living in it, we think it's the end of the world, but then it never, you look back and it's not. It really isn't. You know,
Yeah.
I I was in
Everything is
college. Yeah,
cyclical.
yeah, yeah. So I've like experienced a whole Pluto like Pluto sign transit in my aware brain. 'Cause, like I
Hmm.
feel like I experienced the whole Pluto in Capricorn, and so to really be able to look back at that now with an adult brain and understand the whole thing makes me much less fearful of my life. Because like in 2008, it felt like the world was ending, and it was just Pluto going into Capricorn. And I
Right.
hadn't like been aware of what Pluto does. Does that make sense? Like
It
we think
does.
like, oh, these are these big changes that need to happen, but this is just life. And but it is helpful to have these symbols, the symbol system to communicate instead of just kind of like floating around like a plastic bag in the air.
Very Katy Perry analogy. Do
Yes,
you
I
ever feel like a
almost
plastic bag?
yes, I almost referenced her.
Perfect. So for those of you who need a summary of the bigger transits we can expect in the year ahead, we have Neptune entering Aries later in January. We have Saturn entering Aries, I think, on Valentine's Day this year. So Saturn and Aries people, it's your Saturn return. Uranus entering Gemini in late April. North Node enters Aquarius in August, and then Jupiter enters Leo in July. Is there anything else I'm missing?
I think that's it.
Okay, perfect. So we wanted to come together and we're going to start doing monthly forecasts just week by week for the month ahead. So let's jump into it, I
All
guess.
right. Cool.
Okay, so first week and a half-ish of January, we're kicking off 2026 on January 1st with Mercury in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. And Mercury enters Capricorn later that day as well. We've been in this period of big picture thinking that doesn't exactly bring details into clarity. And especially that Mercury squaring Neptune is the quintessential brain fog. So I would honestly put a hold off on trying to jump ahead into those New Year's goals and the New Year's resolutions because we were talking about it earlier before we pushed record, but we're all just like waiting for the next year ahead and
Yeah.
in this liminal space, this waiting zone. And I think that Mercury Neptune square is really going to be bringing that out of us. Um, However, I do think later that day things will become more clear as Mercury enters Capricorn that afternoon. This is the let's get down to business transit for the next
Yeah.
few weeks. Our thought process with Mercury and Capricorn becomes more practical, conservative, methodical. Very step by step and goal oriented mindsets are going to be great for that. Um, Very good for like planning ahead later in the day on January 1st and for the few weeks after that. Next steps of what you want to achieve in 2026.
This is like the ultimate hangover from New Year's Eve day.
Yeah,
That's
it
just
is.
what it
Yeah,
is. So
ultimate
have your
hangover.
yeah, like have your intention plan, go to the party, be hungover, then start it.
Yeah, yeah. Don't try to jump straight into anything responsible that morning.
Yeah. Yeah, just wait. It's good.
Just wait. Friday, January 2nd, we have the Sun in Capricorn sextiling the North Node in Pisces. This is happening earlier that morning. The Sun in Capricorn is really highlighting our goals and responsibilities, our obligations, during all of Capricorn season, of course. But today, in particular, on January 2nd, we're reminded that ladder climbing does not always have to be met with a rise and grind attitude. And so for me, that sextile to that North Node in Pisces is very much about embracing the flowing structure of the day and allowing your goals to adapt, allowing yourself to adapt to your goals especially, but just remain adaptable when it comes to what you're really wanting to build, I would say. And then Saturday, January 3rd, we have Venus sextile the North Node around midnight. And then we have the full moon in Cancer. So, as we find more sweetness in the intentional flow of this week, I think we will find a release with that Cancer full moon. On January 3rd, we're really called to find balance between the emotional security of a private life versus the tangible security that comes with our external ambitions and how they can work together, how you can get like from one side to the other using the skills of both. That Capricorn Cancer axis, it really just reminds me that a lot of times you can't succeed unless you have that that foundation, and unless you have that sense of security, it can be harder to achieve success, and vice versa. With that success can come that feeling of security. But I think with full moons meaning releases especially, and as we're thinking about our goals earlier this year for resolutions, what we want out of 2026, um I think that full moon can really prompt us into thinking about what we can gain when we step away from our comfort zone. Dani, do you have anything else to add about that first few days of January?
I think this is I think it's been a while since we've had a new year that felt like a new year because we've had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Mercury retrograde new year starts for the past several years, like going back to COVID really. And so we have this opportunity now with Mercury getting a lot stronger right at the beginning of the year to actually start this year off really well, which I think is going to help us be a great year, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but but we need to not put the cart in front of the horse, right? And like make sure that we've got our emotions where they need to be. And I think this is what the Cancer full moon is really about. So like
Yeah.
it's not like we can get our structural planning brain going, once Mercury is done with that square to Neptune and heads into Capricorn. So like the evening of the first and heading into the second, but really not until we get to the next week are things going to happen.
Right, right. And I am really excited about that next week, as
Yeah.
you know.
Yes. Yes.
I am very, very
Everyone should
excited.
be. Everyone should be excited about the first
Yeah,
week of January.
yeah. So that's that first full week of January from January 5th through 11th. I think that's going to be a really great week. We start out on Tuesday, January 6th, with a Venus cazimi at 16 degrees of Capricorn. And in very layman's terms, the relationship between planets does work very much like the phases of the moon. And so when you see a cazimi, that's when a planet is perfectly in alignment with the sun. And that is like a new moon phase with the themes related to that planet. So we're looking at the Venus in Capricorn being revitalized. We're really centering our values around our goals and around our ambitions and around our sense of responsibility, even, and getting that a revitalizing boost to it, a new seed being planted around those themes. I think with Venus and Capricorn, this can bring up a strengthened vitality as it relates to the fruits of one's labor. So I'm really thinking we are very passionate about our goals, especially beginning of January, of course. We're all thinking about the resolutions, all of that. But one thing to note about that Capricorn energy is that it can be easy to put off our little pleasures. There's this energy, I think, with Venus and Capricorn that's like, I'll give myself this when I feel that I have
Earned it.
become earned it. It can be really easy to put that off, but when you do that, it is like a trap.
Yeah.
It is like a trap. So, like, if you have been working hard, reward yourself. Because if you're not rewarding yourself along the way, it can be easy to lose track of like the final
And
destination.
and it's not even that it's just a reward, it's sustenance for your soul.
It's sustenance for the soul. Exactly. I love that. I love that. Perfectly put. And Jupiter is also expanding this energy as it's coming into opposition as well. And so it is a bit of an indulgent week. I do think with when Venus and Jupiter even an opposition between them is not that bad, but it can be very much about balancing those little pleasures with the big pleasures as well and
Yeah,
making
drink your
sure
water
to
after your
reward
drink.
yourself. Yeah, yeah, drink your water after each drink.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the next day, we have Venus meeting up in a conjunction with Mars and Capricorn, and both of those are trining the moon in Virgo on that day. And so I love whenever I see Venus and Mars come together because it is like charisma, it is passion, and there's this new phase, new beginning happening surrounding like what lights you up. And so I would say these first few days are the days to really be thinking about like setting your goals for the year ahead
Mhm.
because we're thinking about like, okay, what are some long-term goals that I have? We're in Capricorn with all of this. We're not thinking about like just the year ahead. We're thinking about many years ahead, most likely. So just be thinking this week of your long-term goals and especially like what lights you up inside, what you feel passionate about because this is a good energy for being able to diligently pursue those.
There's got to be
Um,
something emotional attached to these goals or they're not going to hold.
exactly, something emotional. And especially with like forming a trine to that moon in Virgo, there's going to be that ease of that emotional connection, but being able to like put a plan to it and organize it. So
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful day for doing and then on Friday, January 9th, we have Sun conjunct Mars in Capricorn. So this is another Cazimi, and this is very special because it doesn't happen too often with Venus or Mars, and they're happening within like a day or two of each other. So we have a Mars conjunct Sun in Capricorn, Mercury in Capricorn sextile the North Node, and a Venus. This is when the Venus opposition to Jupiter exacts as well. So we have two Cazimis in the same week. This time it's Mars receiving a boost from the sun, embodying the energy of like championing leadership and those big efforts coming with big rewards to balance. And it expands desires. Like that Venus, Jupiter is like an expansion of desire that can come with those expanding demands. This day brings growth in your mindset to support your long-term vision, I would say. Okay, so Saturday, January 10th, we have Sun and Mars opposing Jupiter. So we've been building up to Jupiter oppositions all week. Can be easy to, even though we're really in that big picture, goal-oriented energy this week, it can be easy to overestimate your abilities and
Mm.
overestimate what you're able to commit to. Um, I would just say balance it out by being aware of just like, am I just being too confident and saying yes to things and just agreeing? It's kind of like this energy of like, when you agree to go to a party that's like next month, and then next month rolls around and it's like, oh, I agreed to go to this party and now I'm just not feeling it, but I have to show
Yeah.
up. So make sure that you're like keeping that in mind, taking on what you know you can take on, and if there's any question in mind about it, just say not today.
Yeah.
Also be mindful of like conflicts with leadership in your
Hmm.
life, I would say.
And I think it would be good to keep in mind, like in general, we as humans overestimate what we can do in a month, but underestimate what we can do in a year. You know, like
Yeah,
this is that same energy. And it's the first week of January. It would be a good thing to do this week to break down your goals into realistic bites.
perfect. Yeah, realistic bites, because there is a lot of like unrealistic big picture energy going on. You have to
Have
put
the
it
big
into
goal.
perspective.
You know, have the big goal, have the big
Mhm.
dream, and maybe don't like even put a date on the big goal. Put a date on the thing that you can do today and that you can do in the
Hmm.
next.
I love it. Yeah, focus on what you can do today, because that's really all you have, all you can really focus on.
And it's really important that your goals are based only on what you can control. If you're starting
Hmm.
to try to control what other people have to do, it's not accomplishable and it's just going to give you anxiety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautifully put.
Yeah. Just looking at this week too, I do think that long term, this is some healing energy from what we all have been experiencing really since
Yeah.
COVID and before. You know, like Pluto is definitely out of Capricorn, right? And that whole thing, that whole house that of your chart like got destroyed for, over a decade, right? And
Yeah.
now we get to have all of this like healing, expansive, everyone's showing up to do the cleanup party, like it's
Hmm.
finally happening. Like maybe COVID's finally over and we can like move on
Maybe,
to
maybe
our
we
next.
can finally heal
Yeah.
from it. And I do think like you're definitely onto something with that, because especially like the next day, January 11th, on that Sunday, we see a Venus square Chiron. And so
Yeah.
just it reminds me of that like that bubble up of like old wounds related to like how we value ourselves, what we value in society, even, and especially how our values have changed over that period. Like
Yeah.
it could be we've come to a point where we're finally experiencing like how we can succeed and how we can move on and how we can plan ahead, and
Yeah.
just working on like that's always going to bubble up like some painful emotions, because a lot of this is like energy that is stuck in the past that we're needing to move on from. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
healing week.
I think so. It's really is like look at the world we live in now and how can we move forward,
Hmm.
accepting where we're at so that we can move forward from where we are. So the
Yeah.
COVID energy was Capricorn energy. It was Saturn and
Hmm.
Jupiter and Mars, all of that in Capricorn. So everything happened in Capricorn. It was all of these like
Hmm.
structures that we take for granted that had to be destroyed. And so now all of these inner planets are coming in and making us live our daily life in this new structure. And this week is really
It's
like
taken
making us.
so long to get there.
I mean, but look at the lived experience.
Yeah, it's been
I
insane.
think that's for everyone, if you really think about it.
Monday, January 12th, we have Sun squaring Chiron. So we're really starting to get into a lot of that healing energy that we've been talking about and just the discomfort of it. We have Chiron in Aries and those squares with all these planets in Capricorn, really bringing up like this dynamic of like leadership and taking charge of your life and taking accountability for your healing, especially. So last week brought up many of these things that we're learning about ourselves. And week 3 of January, we could be feeling a little bit more vulnerable. Like we've been working on setting those big goals. And now it's that period of like can I actually do this? And can I actually work through the wounds of the last several
Right.
years to do this?
So,
I would, what are you saying?
sorry. Yeah, practically speaking, this is when school starts back.
Oh,
So this
yeah.
is
Oh,
like, yeah, so this is when, most of us have children in our lives, or we're having to do something with the school system in some way. Like there's going to be more traffic, period, if that's the least of it. So this is like you made those great goals, you did that healing work, and now how's it going to show up when you're stuck in traffic in the morning? Because life is life. So
yeah,
this
you're
is the
going back to
week.
real life.
Yeah, this is the week that life lifes.
This is a life week. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about school getting back into session. Yeah, that's a really good point. Just like back back to the grind, back to the
Yep.
drudgery. I would just say, especially with that Sun Square Chiron, don't let outdated self-perceptions stand in the way of overcoming those lessons that you've learned.
Right. You live
So,
a lesson.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is like new year, new me, but like actually, like, okay, yeah, I'm back to the grind. How do I actually implement that new year, new me now that we're back in the flow of
Yeah.
the rise and grind? Okay, perfect. Tuesday, Mars square Chiron. Um, I would say this day really invites you to integrate and overcome through action. And so I would say, like, take this day to really get into your physical body. And especially if you have any sort of New Year fitness goals, this could be a challenging day for you to actually like take that action and stick with it, but it is important that you do. That square is especially going to compel us to take action and meeting up with action oriented Mars and then Chiron in Aries. Like, you have to take accountability in your life through taking action. So yeah, this week of January seems a little bit harder, as we are saying. Wednesday, January 14th, we have Mercury in Capricorn opposing Jupiter in Cancer. So information on this day can get pretty convoluted. And we're asked to balance facts with beliefs, especially when it comes to very traditional dynamics, I would say, in domestic and institutional structures. That Capricorn Cancer axis to me is so traditional. It is like the grandma, grandpa, like the traditional values, especially like you're saying, as we've been growing and healing from that Pluto in Capricorn, really challenging and reinventing like institutional structure in our lives. And
And
I think
actual
like,
home.
and
Actual home.
what? Actual
Actual
home.
home. As that was the housing bubble bursting, right?
Yeah.
And when that's really the beginning of the housing crisis that we're in. So it's like having a home. Yeah.
Yeah, and I am curious. I'm not like great at mundane astrological predictions, but I am like extremely curious what is going down um in the bigger structure of the powers and forces that govern us this week. So,
Mm.
yeah. And this is that Mercury opposing Jupiter to me is very political as well. We have like the planet that's all about like facts and information opposing the planet that is so much about like belief and faith. Jupiter is very like religion oriented, and so there's this like balancing act between the two at an institutional level, it seems. So
And in
I
that
am
same
curious.
energy where this is like the back to life energy, people are showing up to work again, their kids are in school again, and now everyone gets to be angry again. It's like we forgot, we went and did the holiday thing, and now we're back and nothing has changed. we've had our time, but nothing in the system has changed, and now people get mad. And that's what happens in January.
Mm-hmm.
It's the January 6th thing. That's the State of the Union. Now we've had 1 year in this administration. Like, if people are mad, they're going to be real mad right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll keep an eye on that. I might
I would
revisit
just
this video and do an update.
Yeah, I would just expect, I mean, it's Mercury opposing Jupiter. Like, that's just yelling.
Yeah, it's just yelling. It's
It's just
arguing about
yelling.
beliefs, which is never something like
Yeah.
you don't argue about beliefs or any like
Beliefs
no.
and structure, especially having to do with the family and your home. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I don't, where how this shows up in your personal life, just take a chill pill. But in the like greater, expect people to be mad.
Yeah, I would turn off social media for the day.
And definitely the news.
Yeah, definitely the news.
Maybe
Protect
the
your
whole week.
peace with that Cancer and Jupiter, protect your peace.
Maybe your whole life.
Um, maybe your whole life. Exactly.
Turn off the news.
So immediately the next day on Thursday, January 15th, we have that Venus in Capricorn sextiling Saturn and trining Uranus. Um, we still have that Saturn in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus at this time. And so this is that Uranus and Taurus, especially with that Venus and Capricorn trine, we're really bringing in this theme of resources.
Mm.
Really bringing in the theme of resources and trines create ease, but that's not necessarily always a good thing. So I would just be prepared for like an unexpected thing when it comes to resources in your life. And it could be a great thing. It could be a great thing at a personal level. That could look like you've been working hard. People are really seeing you like and valuing you for that like diligent hard work that you've been doing. And then there's an unexpected reward, right? And then bringing in Saturn into it, there's that opportunity to like really be working like hard and putting things into that um long-term action, I think, and really trusting the vision there, going with the flow in a like linear and forward moving type of way. So I would take the opportunity today to implement a structure that is durable, yet still loose enough to allow for the unexpected. And this is a good day to like get into a flow state. Like if you have projects that you're working on, like just allow yourself to like focus in and hone in on like one particular project that you really want to just pour yourself into, I would say, because I think there's some value that can come from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Friday, January 16th, we have a Mercury square Chiron. So Chiron is just getting like bam, 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 bam with all of these squares. So still feeling very vulnerable. We're bringing in a communicative element into it now, a mindset element into it now. And it is very important when it comes to like, as we're thinking about the year ahead goals, like the mindset is key to setting yourself up for success. So on this day in particular, like you might experience some vulnerable conversations. Maybe they feel very difficult and challenging, but they still need to be initiated. Um, and just like sit with yourself and sit with your mind and allow yourself to really like embrace your truth. Embrace
Mm.
your truth. Like that Chiron in Aries is going to be so like oriented towards like healing our authenticity and then like how does that impact our mindset? So embrace your truth today, I would say. And then wrapping up my end with Saturday, January 17th, we have Venus sextiling Neptune, and then Venus enters Aquarius, and then we have the Sun sextiling Saturn and trining Uranus. So if you're looking for a date night this week, I would say Friday, Saturday is going to be the day. Saturday kicks off with a very dreamy, romantic energy, especially as like for those of us who might be more mature as Venus makes its way out of Capricorn or your more mature relationships. It's like celebrate those milestones and allow yourself to like get a little bit nostalgic and reflective on maybe if you are coupled on what you've achieved together, how your relationship has grown and developed as well. That can be a very romantic type of energy. And then when Venus enters Aquarius, we find more value in friendship and in our relationships take on um, a more progressive type of nature. And as the sun harmonizes with Saturn and Uranus, a spotlight can shine on the evolution of our resources. And like we were saying earlier with the last Saturn and Uranus trine, how can we stay adaptable as it comes to the evolution of our resources, and how can we structure our lives to adapt to that? Um, any final thoughts on that, Dani?
I'm ready for Venus to go into Aquarius.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, so let's head into the last half of January. Okay, so the overall tone of the last 2 weeks of January, they act as a threshold. Okay, so we're moving from closure and consequence into a radical reorientation. So there is going to be a really strong feeling of leaving an old timeline, especially around power structures, identities, and the rules we've lived by without questioning them. So we're working through Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries, right? That's the signs that we're working through. Okay, and Capricorn gives us a final accounting. Aquarius cracks the system we've been living in open. Pisces dissolves what can't be held anymore, and Aries ignites what's going to come next. So this is the energy that
Mhm.
we're leaning into in the last 2 weeks of January as this year becomes real. So we are solidly in 2026 now. So it starts with January 18th. We have a new moon in Capricorn. So these are themes of final decisions, structural reality, and karmic closure. And so this new moon feels like a bottom line moment. It's Capricorn doesn't ask what we want, it asks what's sustainable. So in the
Mm.
world, we can look for announcements around leadership, institutions, governments, corporations, long-term plans. And personally, we're going to get clarity about what we can no longer carry, manage, or be responsible for. So this day, we're probably going to feel serious and grounded, but emotionally distant. We'll have a feeling of a sense of this is what it is, and we'll have less patience for excuses from ourselves or from others. So, to be prepared for this, I would make clean commitments instead of vague intentions and release guilt around stepping down, saying no, or restructurings. And ask yourself what structure supports my future, not my past.
I
So, the
love
next
that
day,
clean intent, or yeah, clean, what did you say? Like clean goals instead of intentions.
clean
I love
commitments instead of vague intentions.
I
Yeah.
love that. I feel like especially new moons. I mean, we're pretty woo. We get pretty woo, but I think
Yeah.
it's you can get lost in the woo. And
Yeah.
that new moon in Capricorn says like, let's let go of the woo and actually set something that's practical and
Right.
realistic.
Yes.
I
Like
love it.
your goal is I want to be beautiful. And Capricorn is, and the new moon in Capricorn is, I'm going to wash my face in the morning and at night. Yeah. So there you go. All right. The next day, January 19th, the sun enters Aquarius, which I'm excited for. This has been a lot of 12th house energy for me that I've just been living through. I'm saying for myself.
Hmm.
The themes will be perspective shift, detachment, and future thinking. So the focus moves from personal responsibility to collective systems. So Aquarius zooms us out and we become emotionally cooler and mentally sharper. And so in the world, we can look for conversations about reform, technology, social change, and rebellion against outdated authority. We're heading into the State of the Union. So, you know. Just be prepared. So we're probably going to feel less emotionally reactive and more observational. We'll have a desire for space, autonomy, and clarity, and there will be slight emotional numbness, but increased objectivity. So to prepare for this day, don't take emotional distance personally. It's just part of the transit. Observe patterns instead of reacting to them, and let curiosity replace control.
I love it. Yeah, allow yourself to get a little detached.
Yeah,
That is like the best way to experience the Aquarius energy. Like there is a lot of
for sure.
freedom in that detachment.
This is the depths of winter. Aquarius
Hmm.
is the depths of winter. It is fixed winter. I mean, if you're in the northern hemisphere, but that's what, that's what the system was, the symbol system was based on. So you are stuck in your house and everything outside is the same color. Like this is the time to just like be detached.
Hmm.
So there you go. All right, January 20th, the next day, Saturn in Pisces sextiles Uranus in Taurus. So this theme is stabilizing change, practical breakthroughs. And so this was kind of hinted at with the inner planets making this before. So the inner planets, when they were in Capricorn, they would sextile Saturn while trining Uranus. And so now Saturn and Uranus are actually having this conversation. And this is a final message in a long-term themes that we've been dealing with since Saturn started traveling through Pisces and Uranus started traveling through Taurus. So these planets are going to make this change. They're going to change soon, right? And so we're realizing these final lessons. Like this is the final cleanup of these lessons. So it should not be surprising. This should be a review of things that we've experienced,
Hmm.
but pay attention to it because you're not going to keep getting the chance to fix this. So this is one of
Exactly.
the most constructive aspects of the month, and it supports making change real, not chaotic. So in the world, we could look for reforms that actually stick, especially around finance, labor, climate, and resources. And old systems don't collapse, but they evolve. So we're probably going to feel quiet relief, a sense that, okay, this might actually work, and emotional maturity around change. So, how to prepare for this is to make small but meaningful adjustments, blend intuition with practicality, and trust gradual progress over dramatic moves.
I love
That
that.
same that same day, Mercury enters Aquarius. Yay. So we're gonna have the theme of radical honesty and future-focused thinking. So communications become sharper, more direct, and less emotional. Ideas spread fast, especially unconventional and disruptive ones. And in the world, there's probably gonna be whistleblowers, new narratives, maybe some aliens, truth telling, viral conversations. So we're going to feel mentally stimulated but emotionally detached, less tolerance for emotional manipulation, and a strong desire to speak the truth, even if it is shocking. So we can prepare for this day by choosing clarity over comfort, listening more than reacting, and remember that being right isn't the same as being wise.
Ooh, I would also say caution about conspiracy oriented thinking.
I know, but it's so fun.
I know, it's so fun. It's so fun. Fluoride is not terrible for you guys. It's good for your teeth.
So it's detached. Just be detached to
Hmm.
these conspiracies. Don't be
Hmm.
attached. You can observe without being attached to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so heading into January 23rd, the end of this week, Mars enters Aquarius and the Sun meets up with Pluto in Aquarius. So we are moving out of the Capricorn energy into the Aquarius energy for sure. This theme is power struggles, collective confrontation, and awakening. So this is super intense, probably the most intense day of the month. Sun meeting up with Pluto is going to bring exposure, reckoning, and power shifts. And in the world, we're going to look for revelations, scandals, control issues, and irreversible changes. What's hidden comes to light, especially in themes of authority. And Mars entering Aquarius on the same day, this is going to activate rebellion, protest, and decisive action. Anger becomes ideological, less personal, more principled. Maybe stay inside unless you're real mad. Just saying. Let
Stay
this
inside.
let this happen out there, not in your life.
Hmm.
Um, so we are gonna feel electrified, restless, and mentally sharp, and less willing to comply with just because, and we'll have a strong instinct to reclaim our autonomy. So, how to prepare. Avoid power struggles that drain you. Okay, stay inside. Channel anger into conscious action, not reaction. And remember that not every battle is yours to fight. Okay, turn off the
Hmm.
news.
Turn
Just,
off the news.
yeah,
Protect your peace with that.
battle the dust bunnies. they're, they're enough.
Exactly.
They're enough. So, do you have any thoughts about this week?
Yeah, when it comes to like turning off the news, like kind of what you said earlier, focus on what is within your control.
Hmm.
Like, well, it's easy to get lost in the sauce when you're just like consuming all the information, and especially with that forward thinking Aquarius energy being like, this is how it should be, but the world isn't like that, and then just getting frustrated over it. Like, just focus on what you have control of in your own life. It does seem like this is an intense week. It's kind of like, you know, it's this energy of like you have to go within the crawl space under your house with a
Yeah.
flashlight and make sure that you have batteries in the flashlight.
Yeah. And make sure there's actually enough space for how big your body is now.
Yeah,
Don't get caught.
don't get caught. Some scary stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, okay. Well, stay inside, fight the dust bunnies. There.
Perfect.
All right. So, heading into the final few days of January 2026. So, first, on January 26th, Neptune enters Aries.
Ooh.
What? What? What is this even going to be like? I mean, we had a hint. We know what to expect. We've bought the new house. We've started moving our stuff into the new house, but now like you have turned the keys in. The landlord has the old house. We're not dealing with Neptune and Pisces anymore. Okay? It's done.
Mm-mm.
It's done. So this is the birth of a new myth and spiritual courage. So this is huge generational astrology. Dun dun
Mm-hmm.
dun. So Neptune leaves Pisces and enters Aries for the first time in a century that it's like staying and it's staying. We shift from collective dissolution to spiritual initiation. It's a completely different energy. So, in the world, we're looking at new movements, leaders, belief systems, and ideals beginning forming. So, people are probably going to go back to church or they're looking for another religious experience now that like emboldens them in some way. This is a long-term expectation that I would think was going to show up in the culture. So old illusions fail and new visions ignite. So we may feel confused but inspired, called towards something that we can't yet name, and a subtle urge to begin again. So we got a hint about this last summer. It's not completely new, but it's here to stay. So we can prepare by not rushing to define the vision and just letting it reveal itself. So watch who inspires you now and guard against impulsive idealism.
Mm-hmm.
Got anything to say about that guy? It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. I'm actually working on a history video about it. One thing
Ooh.
I do want to address when it comes to Neptune and Aries, like especially in astrology, a lot of this work is looking at our past to see how it's acting in our future. And what you will see, especially if you consume a lot of like astrology content online, on social media, the last time Neptune went into Aries before its little stint last year was during the 1860s. And I've noticed like a lot of astrologers focus on the doomsday stuff. Like this was when the Civil War happened, and really focusing on the war and the negative elements of Neptune and Aries. It was when dynamite was invented as well. So those big things, but I really want to focus on the positive of what happened. Like we saw the abolition of slavery because of that. We saw the Homestead Act happen, so making like um home ownership and independence easier for all types of people. Um, and yeah, so don't get sucked into like the doomsday history of these big transits. I know it's easy to do with a few of them that are coming up, but there are
Yeah.
still really good and positive things that can come from it.
And it is always important to remember that like humanity still exists. So that means that people still lived through these transits before.
Hmm.
So there's no reason to think that that won't continue to be. I mean,
Exactly.
unless you really just want to have anxiety, which go ahead. You can find that. You can
Yeah.
find that anywhere. And like, there wouldn't be a Nobel Peace Prize without dynamite.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, because Nobel, the guy who started the Nobel Peace Prize, he he sold dynamite or he invented it or something. And like, he for some reason, like I think his brother died, and so they wrote, but the news the newspaper thought that he had died, and so they wrote
Hmm.
this article about him being the merchant of death, and he didn't want his legacy to be that, so he put all of his dynamite money into starting the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh,
So that's how
oh
he would be
my
remembered.
God. I love that. And that like honestly the Nobel Peace Prize, like there is that element of Aries Neptune energy into it, like awarding people and like recognizing individuals
Well,
for like
you're competing for peace.
yeah, you're competing for peace.
I mean, that is
Wow, I
exactly
learned a
what
new
that
thing today.
is. Yeah, competing for peace. So yeah, so there you go. All right, there's hope. There's two sides of every coin or whatever you
Hmm.
want to say in that moment. So we'll get through this, guys, or we won't, and that's okay too. All right, so January 27th, Mars conjoins Pluto in Aquarius.
Yes.
This is
Fun.
explosive action and irreversible change. Something else to be scared of. So this is raw
Yeah.
power meaning collective will. In the world, there's going to be decisive events, confrontations, and major turning points. It's just what it's going to happen. Systems crack under pressure and something new emerges. And so also just thinking about astrology in general, like maybe it doesn't happen exactly on this day, but right around this day, we're going to be seeing these themes. So just be aware, be on the lookout, be prepared. That's the point of astrology, is so that you can like take a zoomed out approach of your life and not get caught in the sauce. I just made that up. Lost in the sauce? Lost. Don't get caught being lost
I mean,
in the
yeah, don't get caught in the sauce either. No one wants
I like how
that.
it sounds. I like it because
Yeah.
it's AU in both words. Anyways, so we're going to feel intense determination, emotional numbness paired with fierce clarity, and a sense that there's no going back. So we can prepare by staying grounded in our body. Okay. Put your feet on the ground. Tell me 5 things you can see.
Yes.
Okay. Avoid ultimatums unless you're ready to follow through, and use power consciously because energy cuts both ways. There we
Exactly.
go. We made it through. Okay, moving on to January 29th. Mercury meets up with Venus in Aquarius, and this is reconciliation and shared values and future agreements. So, after intensity, this aspect brings integration. Conversations soften but remain honest, and in the world, we'll see negotiations, alliances, and reframing of narratives. So, we're going to feel clearer about what and who aligns with us. We're going to be open to dialogue again and less emotionally reactive and more value driven. So, this is when you have the conversations that you avoided earlier. Okay. Don't have them when Mars and Pluto are hanging out. Okay. Just wait. Just wait. Okay. And then lead with shared values, not emotion, and choose relationships that support your future self. So, do you have anything you want to say about this little bit of time?
It sounds like a really pivotal time. It sounds like a lot of intensity, but a lot of opportunities and reminders coming from that it's like this getting back on track
Yeah, for sure.
energy.
Pluto doesn't play around, but it's usually showing up in the collective. It's only
Hmm.
showing up in your personal life, like if it's specifically hitting your chart in some way.
Yeah.
But it does bring fear. And so these things out there in the collective may be causing us fear, but the less of that input that you can have in your own personal life, then you get more control over how these energies show up. You get to decide when to have those conversations. You get to be wise, right?
Hmm.
So when I look at these 2 weeks as a whole, I would expect mental clarity over emotional comfort. and let the systems fall where they must, but and don't prop up something that's ending. So stay flexible with identities, goals, and alliances that are shifting and ground yourself physically because your nervous system is going to be stimulated. Aquarius is a lot of mental energy. So your
Mhm.
brain and your nervous system is just going to be going. So anything that you can do to ground, take a hot bath, um, do yoga, try to keep yourself warm. I recommend that. So I would say a mantra for this period would be I release what no longer fits and align with what's emerging. Yay,
Definitely.
January.
Yay, January. Sounds like a big month ahead.
There's a lot going on this month. Like, if you
Yeah,
look at other months, they're not like this. Like, February has like a third of the transits that January does.
there's a lot that can happen, it seems.
Yeah. So it's like we start this year out with a bunch of change and then it's just integrating it.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
honestly, like after all of that, I'm like, okay, maybe we don't have to set New Year's resolutions. Maybe we're just thinking a little bit, kind of what we've been saying, what you can handle in your own life, but definitely remain adaptable. And I know, especially like later January, it can be hard to feel that way with the fixed Aquarius energy.
Yeah.
Uh, but adaptability seems to be a good way to go. Remain open.
But the beginning of January is really sweet. The beginning of
Hmm.
January is really good. And I think it's important for us to take that opportunity to enjoy it and like really set some intentions. Like maybe goal isn't the right word because those are probably going to get thrown around once we enter the
Yeah.
Aquarius land. But intentions are easier to hold.
Hmm.
Like intentions are something that you can hold like a butterfly where you're catching it in an open palm. It's not something
Yeah.
that you can grasp. And so if you can, I would use this time to really like before school starts back, like take that extra week that we have and set intentions for who you want to be and how you want to be. So that's what I think because that it you don't want to lose this opportunity either. That
Hmm.
this astrology doesn't come around often.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for watching.
Yes. How about like where can they find you, Misty?
You all can find me on my Substack at mercurialgirlastro.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook under Mercurial Girl Studios, um, as well as TikTok, although who knows what's happening with TikTok or if I'll even still be on there after the Oracle acquisition. I don't know. Like I said, Uranus in Gemini is coming up, and we're already seeing some like craziness to set it up. So
For sure. Yeah. I'm Dani with Planets of Praxis. You can definitely find me at planetsandpraxis.com. And I have all the social medias too, but who knows what's happening with those? I've got Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So Planets and Praxis. There you go.
all right,
Cool.
we'll see you all next month.
Fun. Yes. See you next month.
Yay.